everyone. So let's just address the elephant in the room. I'm not in my room. And I got braces. My name is Rebekah Kuntz, and welcome back to my channel. Hopefully you can't hear the dog barking in the background. It's really bothering me. I did get my braces. I mentioned it in my very last YouTube video. Hopefully you're not too distracted by all this. So I've been thinking about what to do for a YouTube video. I'm going to tell you this story. One of my old blog posts. The blog post is called The Morphlings. This story is completely true. It happened to me while I was working at the coffee shop. Now, the weird thing about this coffee shop is that when you worked there, it was one girl per shift, and you would close alone. And it closed at 9 o'clock at night in a bad part of town, and you had to go outside, you had to collect all the chairs, you had to go to the back of the building to throw your trash in the dumpster and kind of look around the corner of the dumpster to make sure no one was waiting for you. So basically, the entire time I was working at this coffee shop, I was just waiting for someone to rob me. I already knew it. I knew if someone was gonna come, what could I do? Take the money? There's nothing I could do. I already kind of had this paranoia, this fear of anything bad could happen to me at any time. And so I walked into work one day and I'm ready to close. When I went in, one of the girls was there and she was just getting off her shift working at the beauty parlor next door. And she was lugging around this big trash bag. And she says, "Oh, those are my heads." And I said, "Your head? Heads?" And she says, "Yeah." And I already know this girl doesn't joke. So when someone tells you they're carrying around heads in a bulging plastic bag, you stop everything you're doing and look in the bag. She was carrying around a trash bag full of mannequin heads with hair because some sort of class. So I'm laughing about her head and she says, "Oh, did you hear? Did you hear about the robbery?" And I said, "What robbery?" And she said, "Oh, the pharmacy down the street, it's been robbed." And so she starts going into this very long, it was touching. She had the best intention. But when you have your sort of manager telling you,
if you'd ever feel uncomfortable, go ahead and lock all the doors. You can let the customers in one by one. Have 911 on speed dial.
She's going through all these precautions, you start to get a little unnerved. I was trying to just go through my day and not be too scared. I think one of my friends was coming, so I thought, okay, it'll be fine. Like, he'll come and then I'll ask him to stay with me until closing and then I'll be okay. Little while throughout the day, I realized we were out of milk or something. I was texting my boss and that's when I saw the text on my phone saying he wasn't coming anymore. Then the sun's going down. I'm getting a little nervous. Around 8 o'clock, I am just completely on edge. I'm starting my closing chores and I was bent over tying a trash bag around the trash can. I heard something. And so I jumped up and turned around and there was the three most ugliest people I had ever seen. Two guys and a girl. One of the guys looked like he was about in his late 30s. One of the guys looked like he was in his 20s. The girl too. But they were all dressed weird. The girl had on fuzzy pajama pants, this big dirty sweatshirt, and she kind of had like an elf hoodie on. And everything about her just looked very frail and weak, and I'm just watching these people. The girl runs right up to the counter and she insists, "Do you have Wi-Fi?" She asked me, "Do you have Wi-Fi?" I was kind of just watching her and trying to get an idea of who this girl was and about the men who were with her, and I told them that the Wi-Fi was only for customer. And so this was kind of my friend or foe test. She seemed to be in charge, even though she looked the weakest. She was a spitfire. She knew exactly what she wanted. She went and she decided she wanted a vanilla latte, and both of the boys were trying to convince her to get a house coffee because it was the cheapest thing on the menu. But no, she wanted a vanilla latte and she wasn't gonna rest until she got her vanilla latte. So she finally gets her boyfriend to pay for this vanilla latte, and I see that he has a driver's license. So I'm thinking, okay, they can't be complete vagabonds, right? Because he's got a driver's license. Like, maybe he's got a car somewhere. Didn't just wander in. So I'm just trying to calm myself. And all the while, the older one is looking at me, and he's got kind of this smirk on his face. And he says,
"Oh yeah, we just came in here to check you out."
And I didn't quite appreciate that comment, considering when they walked in, I was bent over tying a trash bag around a trash can. I've decided he's not my friend, and I'm just gonna make these people their vanilla latte, and they can get going. As I'm making the latte, I'm doing it as quickly as you can make a latte. Get these people out of the coffee shop. The oldest one, still very much interested in what I'm doing, what I'm saying, goes and he sits on one of the couches across the coffee shop and decides to start shouting at me and having a conversation this way. He leans back and he's like,
"So, what's your name?"
"My name's Rebekah." And he says,
What?
So I'm thinking he can't hear me over the sound of me steaming all the milk. So I turn off the steamer, I'm done with my milk, and I tell him my name's Rebekah. And he jumps up on his feet and runs towards me. And I'm trying to just keep my expression serene, trying not to completely look like this man's about to attack me. And so he runs up to the counter and he
Says your name's Rebekah?
and he starts pushing down the collar of his jacket. I kid you not. Tattooed to the back of this man's neck is Rebekah. Huge. Right across the back. It was misspelled, of course. I am K-A-H and everyone else spells it C-C-A. This man had Rebekah tattooed to the back of his neck. And so he starts telling me all about this fantastic person named Rebekah.
Oh, she was the longest relationship ever had.
He said something like 8 months.
So she was wonderful, but she moved to Texas.
Telling me all these things. I'm trying not to engage him too much. I have decided I want them to leave. I make her coffee, but of course she originally came in for the Wi-Fi, so now she's got the Wi-Fi password. They all make themselves comfortable and they're here for the night. But they did buy something, so I'm trying to convince myself, even though these are the creepiest looking people, they did buy something, and so maybe they weren't here to murder me and take all the money. I was trying to romanticize the whole thing by seeing how frail and sad looking the girl was. She was pale, she had a red nose, and she just looked smaller, and I created in my head this story. She only had a few more months to live, and they were just taking her out for one last night on the town before she had to be admitted back into the hospital. That was the boyfriend, and the older creepy guy was the brother. And they were just like the sweetest people because they were taking care of her. It kind of calmed me, and I decided, okay, it's time to move on with my coffee shop duties. We had this little bean drama, because that's what happens when you work at a coffee shop. So I was on the phone with one of the girls who's worked there for a really long time, explaining to her, I think there's something wrong with the beans. We're talking, and all of a sudden, a fight breaks out in the corner where the girl and the two boys are. The brother is hitting the boyfriend, the creepy older brother, he storms out, and then the girl smacks her boyfriend in the chest, and she yells something like,
You're supposed to love me.
and then the boyfriend storms out, and then she throws herself into the chair and starts sobbing. All the while, I have my coworker talking to me on the phone about beans. And I just can't believe that she didn't hear everything that just happened. She's going on, and I have no idea what to do. I have a crying girl in the corner. Finally, my coworker, she kind of sighs and she says, so how's your night going? And I'm just looking from the crying girl, and I look outside, and I don't know where the boys went, and I'm thinking, are they coming back? Don't leave the girl with me. Start with this. She says,
So, how's your night?
it's okay.
Is something wrong?
I would say so.
Is someone creepy there?
And I'm like, yes. But I can't tell her what's going on because the girl is right there. And my phone had died. I was convinced that my old cell phone was going to be the end of me because it continuously died when I was closing the coffee shop, and I knew if I was ever in trouble, this phone was gonna die, and then I was gonna die. I made my peace, and I knew that we were all gonna die. And so I couldn't text her what was going on. Her advice to me was, well, if they're creepy, start mopping up, because nothing says get the heck out of the coffee shop more than mopping around your feet. Eventually, the girl does leave, and I think she's in the parking lot, but I can't really see her. So I start mopping. Getting through my mopping, this girl was like a phantom. I never knew she was there until she started talking. Somehow she entered the coffee shop and stood right beside me before I even noticed her existence. That's scary. And I look up at her, and she has tears in her eyes.
I know we just met, and you don't really know me, but you seem like a really nice person. I just need to ask you, please. We just need to get out of town. Do you mind driving us to Barstow?
I'm holding my mop and trying to understand what this woman was asking of me. When my brain started up again, I said no. As we're having this discussion, I look out the window and her boyfriend's coming back. And so I tell her, I said, he's coming back. Not really to tell her he's coming back, but more to judge if we should both be scared that he was coming back. She kind of just sighed, and she says, yeah, he's been sitting outside on the curb. So maybe the older brother took the car and drove away or something. So he comes in, and she tells him no, that I can't drive them out of town. And so he thanks me. In their defense, They were never mean to me, besides the brother making the little inappropriate "I came to check you out" comment. They didn't do anything to harm me. When I told them I couldn't drive them, they exited the coffee shop. But they went and sat down right on the curb outside the front door, and I couldn't get to my car when my shift was over without passing by them, and I didn't know what that meant. I was alone. There were two full-grown men walking around, emotionally agitated, violent, because they didn't mind hitting each other in a public place. And there's this girl who's just sobbing and looks like she's about to pass out. And then there's little old me. And so I did what any grown adult human independent woman would do. I called my dad to come get me. Grabbed the coffee shop's phone because my phone was dead. Crouched down behind the counter. Dad? There are some creepy people here. And so my dad's like, say no more, he's on his way, right? When I finally got my chores done, it had to be maybe an hour or more after closing. I was just finishing up and I opened the front door to lock it when I hear a voice coming from the stairway. It was the front door and then it was just this dark hallway and I didn't see him. But right there in the shadows was the creepy older brother. I was scared. I never saw him. I just heard him say,
"I'm sorry about all the yelling, Rebekah."
And I was looking around and then he kind of poked his head out and kind of smiled at me. And he says,
"You know how family is."
"Oh, yeah, family. Locking the door, closing the door. It was one of the weirdest, scariest nights I had ever had at the coffee shop. But for sure, I will never forget the man who had my name, albeit misspelled, tattooed to the back of his neck because her name was Rebekah. It was the longest relationship he has ever had, but she moved to Texas. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Be sure to like this video if you did and subscribe to my channel and check out my humor and lifestyle blog, RebekahKnutSite.com. And I'll see you next time. Bye.